Chapter 30. By 1999, Norteños were once again killing Norteños. The streets of Northern California were in total chaos, and the Nuestra Familia seemed to be losing its control. NF leaders couldn't resolve their differences, and Familianos continued to kill their own. As NF members are taught to lead by example, Norteños were quick to follow their lead. On February 20th, 1999, a Norteño gang party was held at the home of Grattan's ex-in-laws. Grattan's daughter held a 16th birthday party for one of her friends, which lasted well into the late evening hours. Approximately 100 people attended, and everyone seemed to be having a good time. There was a Mexican-style barbecue and more than enough food for all, as well as beer, live music, and plenty of conversation. The majority of the people were related, and no one could have predicted that such a perfect evening would turn into a catastrophe. The following morning, the Modesto Bee reported in a front-page article which read in part, "A Modesto teenager was killed and 3 others were wounded early Saturday morning when a confrontation escalated to gunfire after a birthday party. Johnny Solke, 15, of Modesto, was shot once in the chest and died about an hour later at a Modesto hospital," police said. Witnesses told police about 100 people, some uninvited, attended the birthday party for a 17-year-old girl at 717 Spencer. The party was ending at about midnight when rival gang members began flashing hand signals and exchanging harsh words, police said. While the young people were walking to their vehicles, the arguments became violent. Shots rang out and bullets hit 4 people standing in the driveway. That same night, Grattan received hundreds of pages on his mobile Sky pager, letting him know what had happened. Of course, he knew the entire story before the police did. Although he was pissed off when he found out about what had happened, none of his close friends or family were among the victims, and he was relieved. Nonetheless, he was, in fact, acquainted with the victims, and he could have very easily had the perpetrators dealt with and or placed on a hit list. However, this incident took place at a time in Grattan's life when he was actually attempting to distance himself from the NF's dissolving leadership, so he decided to give the perpetrators a break and or let them slide. Besides, he reasoned, the crime had been committed in front of about 100 people, and justice was sure to take its course. The assailants were eventually arrested, tried, and convicted. The guilty were sentenced to serve 165 years in the California State Prison. Around this time, according to federal court records, Grattan's loyalty to Robert Brown Bob Viramontes was about to catch up to him. Grattan had avoided having Viramontes hit for as long as he could, and he was about to take some serious heat from NF leadership for failing to follow direct orders. Grattan then decided he had better make some quick moves, and he chose to relocate. He also decided to lay low and stay out of the limelight for a few months. It didn't take long, however, for the NF to find out where he was staying. The following abstract was also taken from a federal court document. Not long after Brown Bob's murder, Henry Happy Cervantes delivered a handwritten letter to Mr. Grattan's home. During the visit, Happy explained to Mr. Grattan that the letter was written in his own hand, but had been copied literally from a huila that Rubalcaba had given to him. Because the huila contained other information and instructions which were not for Mr. Grattan's viewing, Rubalcaba had instructed Happy to reprint only those portions of the huila pertaining to Mr. Grattan. In the letter, Rubalcaba sharply castigates Mr. Grattan for his continuous failure to follow orders, as well as his penchant for writing and sending money only on those occasions when it best suited you, that is, only as a means of occasionally placating the NF leadership. As a result of such conduct, Rubalcaba tells Mr. Grattan that he no longer holds any authority, but must report directly to Happy. Rubalcaba admonishes that failure to do so will be considered treason, an offense punishable by death. In addition, Rubalcaba assesses Mr. Grattan a monetary fine of $5,000, the payment of which is not open to dispute or challenge. Finally, and most ominously, Rubalcaba warns Mr. Grattan that if we do not allow Bibi to do this to the O, we're sure not going to tolerate it from you. By this time, Grattan knew enough to know he knew too much. Too many high-ranking Familianos were being killed, and he knew he could be next. He decided that he had had enough of the NF's bullshit and that he no longer wanted anything to do with the mob. which was easier said than done. No matter the consequences he might eventually have to face, Grattan truly wanted out, which he would realize sooner than he would later.